Today, we're looking at the Atramentis Fuchsia. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. The Atramentis Fuchsia is a kind of purpley ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Pilot Metropolitan with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, immediately dunk it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see that this ink runs up that coffee filter. It is getting away from the water. It leaves a little bit of this pink into fuchsia at the bottom, and it gets very dark at the top. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And other than not traveling as far, it basically looks the same, which makes me feel that this ink is going to have no real kind of resistance given some time. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Looking at the highlighter, on the majority it seems to perform perfectly fine. The lowercase h does have a lot of feathering and spreading that's occurring. It might make me a little iffy, but on the majority I feel that the writing stays behind and that you could use this if you had to highlight your notes. Water reactivates and lifts some of the ink, but not a ton of the ink. A whole lot of it's left behind. Now, pen flush, although it ran off the page crazy, it completely removed this ink. We see a lot of the white of the paper coming through, which makes me go to the point to say pen flush is all you need to get this out of your pen. Bleach, as would be expected, completely obliterates, but again, all you should need with this ink is pen flush. For the inks I've tested, I found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. The Atramentis Fuchsia has a viscosity of 1.59, which makes it a very, very wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. The Atramentis Fuchsia has an average dry time of 17 seconds, making it very normal. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at Clairefontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 gives no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shading. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, but it is a lighter tone than we got with the 1.1. When we move to the medium, we get a darker tone again with no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shading. The scrubby for both show us that we get no color variation, and we didn't get any color variation. The smear test says, I don't think you would be able to recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. Ignoring the spot where it starts to come through on the scrubby because that's where I'm putting it on stupid thick. There's no bleeding. There is ghosting. Of course, it is Tomoe River. The 1.1 gives no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. Lighter tone slightly for the extra fine, has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. It took 15 seconds to dry. The medium becomes a darker tone again with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 24 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both showed us no color variation. We didn't get any color variation. And the smear test says you likely can't recover it. Rhodia. Again, other than where I'm putting it on stupid thick with the scrubby, there's no bleeding. And the 1.1, it looks like I'm getting a little bit of ghosting. The 1.1, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine gives no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade.
13 seconds to dry. It does appear to be a lighter tone, just a little bit, than the 1.1 and the medium that we're about to go to. The medium has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation. We didn't get any color variation. The smear test, though, I think you would be able to read it if you smeared. So I looked at this on yellow rhodia paper, which gave no bleeding, no ghosting. Now, all three of these, their tone seems to be a little bit lighter. The color seems to be altered just a little bit. But it's still a fuchsia color. The 1.1 gives no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine, being a slightly lighter tone, has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. There actually is little bits of shading in here. Just little bits. The L of the lazy looks a little bit darker. The K of the quick looks a little bit darker. The E of over looks a little bit darker. So we get some spots of little bits of shading. The medium is a noticeably darker tone with no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 18 seconds to dry. I think I forgot to mention the extra fine was 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby, the extra fine shows tiny bits of color variation. Tiny bits of color variation. We do get tiny bits of color variation in the writing sample. Where in the world? Here it is. The medium shows no color variation. We didn't get any color variation, and the smear test says you could likely recover it. Life paper. Life's a laid paper. It's very nice. I like doing my correspondence on it. It gets no bleeding. It shows much more on camera. No real show through. The 1.1 has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. It is a lighter tone than we got with the 1.1 and a lighter tone than we're about to do with the medium. And the medium gives no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't get any color variation, and the smear test, you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing with this. So I looked at Franklin-Christoph paper. Franklin-Christoph bled. It didn't touch the page underneath, but it definitely bled all over. This ink went straight into the paper. This has not been normal with Franklin-Christoph, but it does happen. With that, I don't even think the show-through matters. We see it quite a bit with the medium. Not a ton with the extra fine. The extra fine has little spots that are coming through. So with the 1.1, we do get little feathering all over the place. Little feathering. We don't have spread. We don't have halo or sheen or shade. The extra fine, it looks to be the same tone on this paper. Now this is not a white paper. The tone looks the same. It has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. I realize that on camera this tone looks a little bit lighter, but in person it looks the same. This gets the idea of looking darker because of the thicker lines. It's just how our eyes play tricks on us. But in person, the tone of them look the same. Like if I fold the paper over and I look at them where they're touching, like on the cue of quick, see if we can focus here. When I fold over the medium and the extra fine, the tone looks the same. And that's why I say it's, can be quite different. The medium has no feather. It looks like it has a little bit of spread. No halo, no sheen, no shade. It took 8 seconds to dry. The extra fine and the medium show us no color variation in this. We didn't get any color variation. And the smear test says you could likely recover it if you did smear while you were writing. And that's all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like the Atramentis Fuchsia, I would prefer to find an ink that complements that kind of purpley tone on the page. I've chosen Krishna's Mandara because it's a really neat pink kind of magenta color. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. Now, what do I think of Atramentis Fuchsia? This is not really a color for me as my primary writing color. It's not something that draws to me. However, what stands out for me is this is a great complement color to use with other inks. And I know I gave a compliment, but or a complement color, but I would say if you're a dark, like a black ink writer, a majority of the time, this is a great editing or second color in your note taking. Thanks for watching.